book of Akram, Alladhi Alamu Bil Kalam, Alamu Insanu Alam Yalam. The beginning of the 96th surah of the Quran, which is called Surah AllaH. And these phrases are reported to have come all at the time when he was in the cave of Hira in the mountain called Jabal Nur. And that's in Mecca. Okay? And so these words translate to English more or less as read or recite in the name of your Lord who created the human being from a leech-like clot of blood, an AllaH. Read or recite, and your Lord is most bounteous or generous, who taught man by the use of the pen, taught him what he didn't know. Unfortunately, those who don't really know the Arabic language or the tafsir or the explanation of these verses have misguided us in some ways by telling us that this meant read, that we're supposed to go get a university education, become PhDs, and go out here, and that's what we're all about. How many of you ever heard that explained that way before? Yes? It's true. And it's not correct because the Prophet ﷺ graduated from what university? Well, first of all, there were no universities at that time. That concept of universities really came about with the Muslim scientists. The Muslim scholars are the ones who really established what we call universities today. How many of you knew that? The oldest university on earth is where? Cairo. It's called AllaH. How many of you been there? Didn't go yet? You been there? Alhamdulillah. It's beautiful, isn't it? And mashallah, over 1,000 years old, and it's still there. How many of you know this side issue? Because they always talk to us about how we treat women, that women are never leaders or anything. How many of you know that the first one who was in charge of AllaH University was a woman? How many of you know that? Yes, it was a woman. A woman was the leader, the teacher, and in charge of the university. That tells you something right away, doesn't it? Because no woman in the Western world ever had these kind of credentials, even until less than 100 years ago. Hello. So now, what do you say to that? And they have no answer, because they didn't know this kind of history. But we want to stay on our subject, which is the Quran, and I want to use a little bit more time for this, because it's very important for us to know this. The Quran is not such that it can be altered or played with or changed, and it is mu'ajizah. It's a miracle. It's the existent, extant miracle of Allah for all the human beings to look at and understand. When you hold it in your hand and it's a book, it's not Quran, it's called what? Kitab. Kitab Allah, the book in your hand. This is representing the Quran, but it is not the Quran. We must give great respect to it and honor to it. We mustn't, let people step on it, things like this. Absolutely, we know that. But at the same time, this is not the Quran, because if it were the Quran, then this is an amazing statement here, because a person could take that, and I've seen it happen in prisons, for instance, that a non-Muslim guard will come along and he'll take their Qurans and he'll rip them up. Or he'll do something bad to it. Or he'll change it. Or one of them put, pig oil, what do they call, lard, and he put it in there just to insult the Muslim. He did that. Now, can somebody do that to the Quran? It's impossible. Allah is protecting the Quran. And if you say the Quran can't be changed, but you're watching this man change it right there, then you would be confused if you didn't understand this basic point. Quran is not this thing in your hand. This represents it. Now I'm going to give you an example just so you'll understand. Because we got some youth here that may not catch what I'm talking about. Anybody know what a dollar bill is? Yes. You know what a dollar is, don't you? Is it money? It's money, isn't it? But what's a $100 bill? It's more money, isn't it? A lot more money. But it's on the same size piece of paper, isn't it? Same amount of ink, isn't it? Why is one worth more than the other? How could it be? How could it be that, is there more gold in it or something? No. So that's not really the money. What it is, it represents money. Do you understand that now? It means that you can get so much gold for that, or so much silver for it, okay? In theory, you can't really, but you're supposed to. But what I'm saying is that this dollar represents money, but it's really just a piece of paper. So the Quran represents the Quran, but it's not the actual Quran itself. That's why it's possible to print it and make mistakes in it, because it is not the actual Quran. Just like if you're printing money, they could make a mistake and put the head upside down or something. It happens. So that's how we understand the Quran is something that's a miracle. It's from Allah. It's very special to the Muslims, and it's not like their Bible. They don't have anything comes close to it. Let's finish it up with this. The Quran is Quran when it's being recited. So you can hear the Quran, but you can't really look at it. Meaning, now I'm not talking about the book, of course, but you can't see the one that was revealed to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but you can hear it from Muslims. How many of you here today memorize the whole Quran? Raise your hand. You got the whole Quran? One? Huh? They don't want to raise your hand, too shy. How many of you have at least half of the Quran? Half. Or a fourth. 4 or 5 juz of the Quran. Alhamdulillah. Good. How many have 1 juz of the Quran? A 30th part. Alhamdulillah. And how many of you memorized at least 5 chapters of the Quran? Everybody in the room memorized at least 5 chapters. Now ask somebody who's bothering you about the Quran, ask them, how many chapters of your book did you memorize in the original language? And the answer is 0, because they don't even know what language it came in. Ask them, what language did Moses speak? And they don't know. What language did Jesus speak? They're liable to say Latin. They don't know. We're very clear on this subject. We know he spoke one of the Semitic languages, which is what? Aramaic. He spoke Aramaic, and the ancient Hebrew language of Moses is very similar to Aramaic. They're very close. And the other language very, very close is what? Arabic. Many of the words are interchangeable. Yom means day. They have Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. We have Yom Juma, the day of the gathering. So the words, even the letters Sin and Shin and Ra, are in the Hebrew language. So these are similar languages, and you speak one, you can understand the other. Very simple. And they say Assalamu alaikum, and we say Assalamu alaikum. So very, very close, isn't it? How many of them have any clue about their book? So no, it's not like the Bible. The Bible to them is the Bible in the English language, 1611 translation at the time of King James. And they don't even know that the first edition that came out had so many mistakes that the very next year that they had to issue another copy. They had to do it again because they had so many mistakes. A few years later, they found another mistake. They had to do it again. Because one, they left a word out, and it basically meant that that a prostitute was the right way. And it meant to say that it was not the right way, but they left the not out of it, and it made a problem. They made jokes about it. They called it the prostitute Bible. Yeah, but they made a mistake. And when they put so many of them out there, so it's only one word out of, so just like tell the people to change, But what we're saying is that our Quran is not changeable. And this is the final point now. Final point is that over 9 million human beings have memorized the entire Quran, cover to cover, walking on earth today. Over 9 million people alive today have memorized the entire Quran, from Indonesia to Texas, from Bangladesh to Saudi Arabia, from Egypt to Canada, from England to Australia. Every place you find Muslims who memorize the whole Quran, it's the same Quran. It's not another version. It has 114 chapters in it. All of them start with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, illa wahad, except one. Which one? Surah Al-Tawbah. Everybody here agrees. And I didn't tell you that ahead of time to say that, right? But you know that. And every Muslim knows that. If you memorize Quran, he knows that. But ask them what they know about their Bible. How many books are in their Bible? They don't know. I do. It depends on which Bible they have. If they have the Catholic Bible, There's 73 books. But if they have